Playing in a small club like Cargo's, I personally really enjoy it. Some of the bigger gigs that we've done are just, so much kind of goes into kind of preparing them, and it becomes quite a pressure gig. Doing a smaller gig, it's just much more intimate and friendlier. You can see the crowd, you know, they're right by your feet in a way. It's more like kind of family vibe. I was asked by director of a Portuguese film festival if we'd like to kind of soundtrack an old black and white movie. Obviously, with a name called Cinematic Orchestra, it's kind of one of my aims is at some point, or as a collective of people, the Cinematic Orchestra, to actually do soundtracking, work with film, images. The movie's called Man with a Movie Camera. It's an old silent film from 1929 by director Dziga Vertov. It's just pretty kind of ahead of its time, really. We basically spent 4 days as a Cinematic Orchestra in a rehearsal studio with a really small TV and a VHS player, just kind of rewind, fast forward, rewind, and start kind of working on it. Kind of like the middle section of the film, it goes into the kind of work area where it starts off women working, and this is for the track Man with a Movie Camera, women working, and then goes into men working into kind of more factory-based kind of spaces. And so that kind of, there's lots of cogs kind of spinning and lots of repetition like that way, so we wanted the music to kind of emphasise that. The on-stage vibe is really important in the music. I think that's why it works in small clubs, so people can feel that in a way. Sometimes the best gigs are in small venues, looking like 100 people, 200 people. You know, it can really happen there.
Your head is like a yo-yo, your neck is like a street. Your body's like camphor, oozing from its skin, yeah. And your ass is like two sperm whales floating down the tail. And your voice is like a long voice, this music to your brain.
And we've got this thing, which is a real kind of understanding about a certain kind of quality in music, a real kind of emotional kind of thing in music, to be really honest when writing music and not follow kind of a fashion or style. They don't try to kind of be very intelligent about music. I don't know very much about music, but I'm quite in touch with my emotions, you know, in that respect.
Real deep now, 'cause your love is like a Norwell. Deep, 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 deep. Here in Congo with all of you wicked people. Why be that?
I did a fine art degree from 90 to 93 in Cardiff. You know, while I was doing that, at the same time in the evenings I was doing music. I was in a band. I was, you know, played bass, and so it's kind of my life was kind of split between the kind of visual thing and the music thing, and they were running parallel at that time, and I didn't really, at that point, click and put the two together. Myself and Phil France, the bass player, we go back a long way. You know, 15 years or so. You know, just friends. Phil was actually the one that got me into listening to jazz when I was kind of trying to kind of play the bass.
Jazz should be kind of pushing things forward and experimenting, and generally you find like your jazz musicians right at the front, you know, in the vanguard, like kind of experimenting with things.
Phil's kind of background is a live musician, and he also writes music as well, and my background, I suppose, is a bit of live music, but more studio-based stuff. So coming together, I think you kind of get a really good combination. In a way, Phil's learning a lot from me, and I'm learning a lot from Phil, and it's through kind of questions.
I think Jay, you know, I mean, he's obviously kind of onto something, really. I mean, he was onto something from the word go.
When I started to write music, I was listening to kind of jazz and people like DJ Shadow. So I'd try and write fat beats like DJ Shadow. And after a few tracks, something started happening.
Just bounce ideas off each other, because I think in a way, he knows a lot that I don't know, and I know like some things that he doesn't know, you know what I mean? So we kind of share the information as freely as we can to try and make the best music that we can when we're kind of like writing things together, do you know what I mean? So that's the way that we do it.
Sometimes where there's been points during gigs where things have just, to me, felt just absolutely brilliant, and kind of a swell up and feel like I'm almost going to cry. All these guys giving so much to this music that I've written. You know, their involvement, they're kind of making it even something bigger, and kind of opening it out even more. And that's, sometimes I get those kind of emotions which are kind of quite overwhelming, really. And other times, yeah, it's like, shit, I forgot to pay the gas bill.